Hi Aquarius, welcome to your November 2020 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. So what I am doing is I am using my Wild Unknown Tarot deck for this series of videos. So I hope that you enjoy it. I've used it plenty of times in the past. See, I was going to say I wanted to use it for Halloween. Or, even though this is for November, it's still Scorpio season. And this is I picked it in the reversed position, but look. Isn't that something else? The Nine of Swords. Some of the images are macabre. Some of them are very lovely and charming. So it just depends on, which one you get. Been getting that Four of Cups over and over again. By the way, I just want to say something that I think that Aquarians will appreciate. I received a comment for another sign on this particular series of videos, and the person said, geez, are you ever not so negative? And I don't know exactly what triggered them into thinking like that, because if I get certain cards, I have a couple of cards here that are challenging cards, actually a few of them. It's not that I'm being negative, it's that I'm not just being superficial. There's a difference though. And some people don't want to engage life at that level. So I do, let you know ahead of time is that I'm not afraid of the Death card. I'm not afraid of the Nine of Swords in the upright or the reversed position. And actually the reversed position, if I'm not mistaken, is that whatever nightmare you've been experiencing in life, that it's over with. So actually, in the reverse position, it may be more of a positive card. But even the Four of Cups, these kinds of things. And some people, they're looking for some kind of a quick fix. And I just don't believe that that's what life is all about. I don't believe it works that way, and I don't believe that that's what it's for. That's what life is for. So, forewarned is forearmed, right? If you're dealing with me, my readings. The heart of the matter is the Nine of Swords. I'm going to just hold it up again so you can see what it looks like. And this is a card that is associated with anxiety, somewhat similar to the Eight of Swords, although the Nine of Swords can be what happens to you. It's connected to insomnia. And, in some cases, of course, it's not all cases of insomnia. It's happening because if somebody is anxious during the daytime, they're able to distract themselves with all kinds of busyness. There's a lot of people running around, rushing around, doing this, doing that. The stores are open. There's ways to, we have daylight. And at night, you're kind of forced into this, I was going to say meditative state, but I mean into the solitude of the night. And you're left to your own devices with your own thoughts. And if you're not at peace with yourself, obviously it can lead to anxiety. But this is in the reversed position, so there may be maybe it was situational anxiety, some kind of an issue in your life that was causing it, and it is now on its way out. I was laughing briefly when I got the Death card because you do have several planets in the 12th house. You have the transiting, or the transit of Saturn in the 12th, after it had gone briefly into your sign. So until December, Saturn is in that 12th, and Pluto is there. But you also have Jupiter, which can be an uplifting influence. So do they cancel each other out? Who knows? But you've got two heavies, Saturn and Pluto, and then Jupiter. So, how do the scales tip? the dark night of the soul, so to speak. In the past position, we have the Ace of Swords. So that could have been a breakthrough. That could have been a time when interesting that they have the lightning, because I think Aquarius also is associated with electricity and therefore lightning and things like that. And that kind of insight that just kind of comes to you, like your Uranian insight. And that pierces through the veil of illusion and, allows you to perceive things in their natural state. I believe that we can have these times, and that we do sometimes have these experiences that lift us out of a state of ignorance is ultimately what it is, but it can manifest as anxiety. Now, on the more mundane level, if you have been dealing with a relationship, for instance, where, and this could apply to a work situation too, because the bottom line is it could be something where it's very kind of hidden and something behind the scenes, and that something, because you are intuitive, something is going on, but you don't know what it is, and you're trying to figure it out, and maybe somehow it gets revealed, and you're able to kind of like say, see, I knew that I wasn't crazy. And that allows you to move forward in life, because the Ace of Swords can be like initiating new changes in life based upon your clear-headedness. The higher message is the Daughter of Cups, which is another kind of beginning energy, the Page of Cups. And I love the color in this of the reflection. So they do have these cards with pops of color, when you have the black and white images. So how I see this, and even as the the symbolism of this particular card, how they have decided to depict it, is with the Page of Cups, you're talking about perhaps a message of love that is coming through from somebody because they want to have this relationship, or maybe they are expressing their feelings to you, and that is part of piercing the veil, because it's almost like somebody breaking a spell. So, for instance, I do believe in the power of love, okay? And if someone grows up not feeling loved because they were given messages that they were not good enough, and, the usual things, doesn't it stand to reason that the people that they will attract into their life it's a very good possibility that they will attract people who will reinforce this message if they are not careful, if they're not astute enough to see that there is some connection there. So what happens is it kind of perpetuates the cycle. When somebody realizes that they've been lied to, everything shifts. It's like your timeline jumps. So if you find somebody who loves you, who tells you good things about yourself, when all you've heard are bad things, I'm not saying that person can get you to love yourself from the outside looking in, but they can initiate the process. They can jumpstart it. And then you start to see, that's what the Ace of Swords is, you start to perceive the truth through the lies. And then you're able to pick it up from there. You make better choices, you are not willing to put up with nonsense, and it just works out in your benefit. I'm saying this with a rather Piscean theme, so I'm definitely thinking of people who have Moon in Pisces. For Aquarians, you can have inner planets, Mercury, Venus, and or Mars in Pisces, and you may have some area of your life where you tolerate less, you tolerate things you shouldn't tolerate. And there's some kind of, in November, maybe there's a breakthrough in this perception. And same with the workplace. And so, like, for instance, if you have been feeling like very stressed out due to workplace situation, and you realize, hey, I don't have to do this, or there's just something that comes over you. You feel this sense of freedom, this sense of like clarity of thought. Maybe in some cases starting your own business, and this is a great time, mid-November through end of January, you may feel like I'm liberating myself. So there's a sense of liberation. What crosses you is the Four of Cups. This is a card of malaise. I think it's just your emotional self catching up to the rest of you, because, that's just how it is. We can begin the process, but we have to accept the intermediate or the in-between periods. Like, for instance, if you're detoxing your body, you might feel worse before you feel better, because that's just how it works. It's like you're stirring things up inside of yourself, and you're releasing toxins, you're releasing poisons, and that creates that feeling of like physical malaise. Some people quit in that process because they think they're doing something wrong, and they don't realize that it's all part of it. So the same thing happens when you're trying to, let's say you're trying to quit an addiction. And maybe for some people, the Nine of Swords has been, some kind of anxiety that led you to misuse or abuse a substance in order to kind of calm your nervous system. Because I think that, I don't know if that's even true, that Uranus is connected to the nervous system. But then that leads sometimes to dependency or substance abuse. And I'm just using this as an example, not saying you specifically, but when a person quits, or what, using, they many times will start to feel, everything come rushing in on them. Not only do they have the physical detox symptoms, but they have the psychological ones. All the negative emotions that they've been suppressing just flooding to the surface. So needless to say, it's a very daunting task. And, depending on what else is going on, sometimes people need assistance with that, medical assistance or psychological, or both, probably both, if it's really like a physical dependency or something like that. But yeah, so we have to give ourselves time, and we have to be patient with ourselves and love ourselves through some of those times. And certainly, look what we have here. What is coming in is the Death card. Now, I'm not talking about physical death. I'm talking about the emotional letting go of something. Maybe it's letting go of a dream that you had for a relationship, that it was going to work out, and you realize that it really is over and that you have to move on. Aquarius, at the end of the day, is a fixed sign. So Aquarians can be quite stubborn in even love relationships, even though there are some quirks built into Aquarius that make that a little bit contradictory by some of the behavior. There still can be this refusal to just, move on to the next thing. And that's okay. I think that sometimes people who are too quick to move on may not be really feeling things at a deep level. They're just kind of engaging life superficially. So it's not to say one thing is better than the other, but simply that you might be clinging to something. Another possibility is that this is a season of, kind of tying up loose ends and really resolving something. Perhaps if this is like a relationship, it's been on again, off again, And that's what's put you into that Nine of Swords mode. And you just want it to be over. Now, could it be a physical death? If you have somebody in your life, this is not, to me, this is an ongoing ordeal. And so if somebody in your life is dying, yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility. This is a general reading, but if that is something that is part of other things, but you have to realize that everyone leaves this world, and making peace with death is one of the most difficult things for people because of their preconceived notions of what that means. A lot of times it's more selfish. It's more like, I don't want to lose this person. When you shift it over to that person and saying, I want that person to be released, because a lot of times there's suffering that precedes death. If the person, because if this is like somebody else that you've been dealing with, it's probably a long ordeal and it's put you through the ringer, but think about what it's put that other person. So being able to release that person in love and saying, you're off to your new adventure, and I'm so glad that the suffering is over with, is such a more positive way to look at it, especially since death is a mere transition. It's not an obliteration. At least that's how I feel. But I understand how it feels to question these things, even if you consider yourself a spiritual person. Because it is the unknown. We can't prove it, can we? So being able to find that peace, and I feel I really did feel that when I saw that death card, that idea of feeling at peace now that somebody else is, the suffering is over with. Now you can move on with your life, because you might have been spending a lot of time going to and from a hospital or making all kinds of arrangements if you were very busy with work, with in-home nurses, what have you, and now you can normalize your life if this has turned your life upside down. So I want to acknowledge that for the people who this may be true for. And then we have the Wheel of Fortune, which is, this is wonderful as the end card. Now this is connected to Jupiter. So Jupiter is going into Aquarius in December. So maybe this is the cherry on the cake of the suffering that you've had to endure in one way or the other in recent months. And I would say especially since July, when Saturn went back into Capricorn. That might have, if you look back, if you have felt that things took a downturn, that might have been a specific time when that happened, because it was, Saturn was in retrograde and it was going over old ground that had to do with the dark night of the soul, maybe a kind of a final test for you in this area. So to me, the Ace of Swords is seeing things with more clarity and moving forward in your life as a result. So I hope that you enjoyed this, Aquarius. I certainly enjoyed giving you this message. For some reason, this is the first one I'm doing for today, and I just felt very aligned with this message for you. So I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a personal reading, I'm primarily an astrologer. I do natal chart interpretations, looking at transits that are coming up that are important, and trying to synthesize all of those things that are occurring and making it more of, the trends that you're experiencing, so that you can fill in the lines of your coloring book, your cosmic coloring book. The link is below. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.